and candidly difficulty for people that are completely unencumbered in their ability to move around, passing either groups or individuals who are either laying on the sidewalk or sitting on the sidewalk in groups. It became something that rose to the level of being, in our opinion, a front burner issue that we asked the city attorney to craft a draft ordinance to send to the ordinance committee for consideration. As you know, it was referred out for additional action over the course of the spring. In the wake of the conversation that occurred surrounding this for about 2 weeks, the problem seemed to alleviate itself as a result of the publicity that occurred. Once that alleviation stopped, the problem became exponentially worse over the course of the summer. The number of complaints that we received, the number of emails, letters, and things sent either directly to us or through a variety of either elected or appointed city officials about the problem of people blocking sidewalks in the inner city district and the ancillary poor behavior that went along with that was staggering. We got more complaints about this issue than any other thing that we have dealt with over the course of this summer. So where we had originally proposed a 6-foot rule, which was designed to mirror a problem-solving effort that occurred in the marketplace some years back that resulted in the implementation of a 9-foot pedestrian right-of-way on a much larger street, with the idea being that we would leave some portion of the sidewalks in the inner city district still available for people to potentially sit on. I think our thought process has actually evolved beyond that point at this stage, where we would propose to not go through the exercise of trying to delineate different zones within those sidewalks to the point where we're suggesting that a sidewalk is for walking, and it is for people to move around in the district to facilitate commerce and entertainment and socialization and dining, and I think we've actually become a little more galvanized in our approach to this, and would suggest that a simple ordinance that says sidewalks are not for sitting. If we have a problem with places to sit in the inner city district, we need to address that in a separate fashion by enhancing seating either on those side streets or on the marketplace itself. But that's an ancillary issue to the core issue of the problems that have arisen as a result of what's happening in the inner city district now. The majority of the activity that is going on as a result of sitting on the sidewalks, candidly, is panhandling. It wasn't necessarily that way. It was more of a split before this debate began. Post-debate, it has become primarily panhandling. And with that has come a variety of additional problems. The call volumes in the downtown have increased exponentially over the course of 2010. And the numbers year-to-date as of November 10th look like this. There are 3 main areas where things have increased. Intoxications have increased from 279 in 2009 to 467 in 2010. Ordinance violations from 391 to 614, and trespass violations from 302 to 545. They're staggering increases, and many of them are a result of unmet social service needs, service-resistant individuals many of whom are making a living through panhandling in the downtown, and that is enabling excessive substance abuse that's leading to these ordinance violations, intoxications, and trespasses. They are all intimately tied together.
Chief Schirling, I don't understand, since there is a panhandling ordinance, then how does the panhandling continue?
Panhandling is only prohibited under certain circumstances, within a certain distance of openings to businesses. If you're aggressive, if you ask repeatedly, if you solicit someone who's standing in a line for something, panhandling is not prohibited in the city.
Soliciting shall mean asking for money or objects of value in a public place with the intention that the money or object be transferred at that time. And it says aggressive manner. Let's see, approaching or speaking to a person, following a person. I had complained to officers downtown because I was so verbally abused at a point on Cherry Street 18 months ago, and on and off for 3 months. And I was doing business down on Upper Church, going to an office there for meetings. And I ended up having to park down, instead of using the parking garage, because I couldn't, to go down and have to park down where CCD was open at the time and pay for the meters and do that, because it was just so undesirable.
I get it.
And a couple times I stopped officers and I said, this is, these people are verbally abusive, they're blocking the way, can't walk there. And I was told that they couldn't do anything about it. So I'm asking why the ordinance isn't enforced, why you're not asking city council to put a fine on panhandlers and things, why isn't there a different structure for that? Go ahead.
I just want to interject that my understanding from sitting through the 2 or 3 hour meeting that we had on this to begin with, and what I thought was going to be on the agenda tonight, was not to actually revisit all the reasons that we would like the streets clean and why it would be safer not to have people in the way and why the ADA should or shouldn't be supported through this ordinance. And it sounds like the thoughts that the city council and the police department have had over how this ordinance should be rewritten or reconsidered have evolved quite a bit since that discussion. My understanding of what we were going to discuss tonight was merely what the Department of Public Works was being asked to do in association with the ordinance and the draft resolution, or whatever it's being called, and also if the commission actually is directing that, or is the Public Works Department making the decisions and we're reviewing them and then passing it on to City Council. So I'm not disinterested in engaging this discussion, but I don't believe this is the forum for it. We haven't invited the public to discuss it with us, and judging by the number of people who showed up at the last meeting that I attended, the public's very interested in engaging in the discussion.
Since the chief brought up the issue of panhandling, I wanted to clarify what was panhandling and make sure that we're not creating another ordinance that's difficult to enforce if this one already can't be enforced and the real issue has to do with panhandling.
And all I'm saying is that chief presence or not, that's a discussion for the city council and the chief, and not the Public Works Commission.
And thus we may say, this is not in our bailiwick, but I don't want to be forced into, because I support the ADA recommendation, I don't want to be forced into doing something that's supposedly ADA, which really has another agenda behind it. That's why I'm asking.
I would just offer, and I think this will clarify on a couple different directions, the goal is not enforcement, whether it's a panhandling or a sidewalk ordinance. The goal, from our perspective, is to set a simple, informative, reasonable standard by which conduct should occur, and once that standard is set, especially with something like this, we don't believe enforcement is going to be a major factor. Enforcement of panhandling is a completely different issue, which we can get into in greater depth. I'm happy to do that. But this kind of an ordinance, very simplistic. But for the most part, once you set something like this in place, it's not an enforcement issue. It's just a community standard, and there's no need to go out and enforce it on a regular basis.
Do you want to say